Y'all, I read a lot of books in July. It's a lot. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Today we're going to be talking about my July reads. So I guess this is my July wrap up. So let's get into it. I got a lot of books. So not only did I do my normal reading in July, which was actually a little bit more than normal, but there was also the reading rush. I wanted to call it Booktube-a-thon, but it was the reading rush. I was only able to complete 3 books in that read-a-thon. It ended up to be, as usual, a very busy week for me. It always starts out as, oh, this is going to be a breeze. I'm going to be able to do this. No, stuff pops up, things happen, you got to go do stuff, and you don't have time to read. It always happens on a read-a-thon. Am I by myself on this? Does anybody else experience this problem? I don't particularly remember all the prompts or challenges in that, but I did not complete 2 of them, I believe. So we'll start off with The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I don't know what challenge this was for. This was the book that I was supposed to read last year. That was the challenge, to read a book that you meant to read last year. And this was one of them. I had several, but this was one of them. My TBR did change from my video, actually. I don't know if this one was in it. I think I put something else in that video, but I changed it to this one. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. It definitely was not my favorite Ruth Ware. I do currently have a favorite, but I have not talked about it yet. It is going to be in this video. But my first book that I read by Ruth Ware was The Lying Game, I believe, and it was okay as well. I believe I have a book talk on that. If I can find it, I'll link it down below for y'all if y'all want to check it out. Like, her books have so much promise in the beginning, and then it just kind of like, they almost like drag on, and then it turns into something that you're just like, what? Where are we going with this? I don't know, but it was just okay. So we follow a young woman named Lo in this book. She is a journalist. So she takes the job to go on this cruise. It's taken like its first voyage, and it's mostly just like reporters and photographers and things like that, just to sort of promote the I guess the ship, whatever you want to call it. When she first gets on the cruise, she actually approaches the woman in cabin 10, which is next to her cabin. She's obviously in cabin 9. And she goes to borrow mascara from, she goes next, which I was just like, why would you even do that? Why would you go knock on a stranger's door and ask to borrow mascara? Of all things, mascara. You just don't use anyone else's mascara. I guess unless maybe you trust this person, but anyway, she goes to borrow mascara from whoever is in cabin 10 next to her. But what if it was a guy? But okay, I'm going off on a rant with this. But anyway, so the young lady that opens the door seems very shady, and she's just real blunt and kind of quick, and she basically just throws a tube of mascara at Lo. Later on, Lo thinks she sees something happen to this woman, that she goes overboard, or, you know, I think she sees blood on the railing. So she goes to try to investigate. No one answers the door. In the end, she finds out that like no one's in this room, and so say no one's ever occupied this room. But she swears on her life that she borrowed this tube of mascara. She has the tube of mascara, but there's no woman to connect this tube of mascara, and there's not supposed to be anyone in this room. So then we go on with the story of her just trying to figure out what's going on with this cabin 10, this woman that she thought she saw go overboard. A lot of different things happen in the middle. It actually just kind of drags out for me. I just thought it was way too long. I got really kind of bored with it. I did listen to this on Audible. It was read by Imogen Church, which I really did enjoy her narration. As far as that goes, that was definitely a 5-star for me. But just the overall book, the ending just didn't give me anything. Like, it just, I just wasn't, I don't know. It did nothing for me, I guess, but it was just okay. The story was okay. The mystery was okay. It was all just okay. I also read The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. This challenge was to read a author's debut novel. So I chose this one because this was on my TBR and I've actually been really anxious to get to it. I gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it had like a good bit of like, there was like the mystery there. It was thrilling. There was a little bit of horror in there, like sort of kind of like, I guess, body horror a little bit. Nothing grotesque or anything like that, but a little bit of body horror. It definitely gave me, I remember saying that this kind of gave me Stand By Me vibes, but when you actually read the story, I can see where people are saying that it reminds them of it, because there are like 3 guys and a girl that are friends, and they draw chalk men. They draw chalk men for each other. That was hard to get out. To signify what's happening, and there's they each have color themes. So like, just for example, one of the guys is blue, one of the guys is green, maybe the girl is pink, another guy maybe yellow, you know, just little, I don't really remember. They actually don't mention that a lot in the story. The chalk men actually are kind of in the background. They're not mentioned a lot in the story, but you get it. These chalk men are supposed to signify whether there's bullies on the way, or we need to meet here, or sort of like emergency things. And the chalk men actually lead them one night to a dead body, and the dead body is not all intact. So in the beginning of this book, an incident also happens that just kind of like caught me off guard. I was like, oh, okay. I'm sort of new to the horror genre, so I gotta, take baby steps. So this to me was a little baby step into the horror genre, because there wasn't much in there, but there was a little bit. They had a little bit in that beginning, and a little bit kind of in the middle, when they found the body and things like that. But the story does go back and forth from 1986 to 2016. I believe I'm saying that correctly, I hope. So I do really like, especially a thriller, I love to get the aspect from the past and what's happening to the present person. We follow Eddie in this book. This incident has sort of affected his life since it happened, and leads to what is currently happening in his present time. Also, letters start to appear with the Chalkman. The past is coming back to haunt him, so say, in a way. But I really did enjoy this story. Like I said, it was like a tiptoe for me into the horror genre. So I really did. I really enjoyed it. I also read a little graphic novel, or comic book, I guess I should call this. This is Scooby Apocalypse Volume 1. This covered the challenges of purple on the cover, because Daphne, of course, wears purple. And of course, it also covered the prompt of read a book with a non-human character. So Scooby, of course. This was super fun. I think I gave it a 4-star. I mean, it wasn't nothing like, like mind-blowing or great or anything. It was just super fun to read. It was so very colorful. I think I have a picture of like one of the most colorful pages on my Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, my link will be down below. Go check it out. But it was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I watched Scooby-Doo growing up, and it was one of my favorite cartoons. I don't know what made me pick this comic book up. One day, I believe I got it from Barnes & Noble's last year sometime. I think the characters just intrigued me, because they're just like, I don't know, they're so different from your normal Scooby-Doo characters. But they're all coming together in this little comic book to tackle the apocalyptic world that is happening around them. So it was just really cute and fun to read. The other challenges that I missed out on were a challenge to sit in the same spot and read. That was actually very hard for me. I just didn't have time to actually like stay in one spot. I started reading a book in bed, but it just didn't happen. I started The Body, which was supposed to be, that was going to be my book in one spot, as well as a book to movie adaptation. So I did not get to those 2 challenges, although I did read The Body. Not all the way through. I have finished it since, so it'll be in my August wrap up. But I did not get to watch the movie, although I've watched the movie before. So we'll talk about that in my next wrap up. But these three are what I read for the Reading Rush readathon. Just other normal reading in the month of July. I read The Hypnotist Love Story by Liane Moriarty. Moriarty? Yeah. I always never know how to say her last name, and I love all her books, except I didn't really care for this one. I gave it a 3-star because it was okay. We follow Ellen, who is a hypnotherapist, and we basically just follow her little love story. And the guy that she's dating is being stalked by his ex-girlfriend, and it very much intrigues Ellen. We also get the point of view of the stalking girlfriend, which I found very fascinating and fun to read. But it was nothing, you know, like thrilling. For some reason, I thought this was going to be like maybe a little mystery or a thriller, or just like, you know, stalking was happening. So I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I thought it would be a little bit more interesting than it really was. It was just basically her love story, finding the right guy, that guy having a stalker, how the stalker interfered with their life, and just their story in general. So it was just okay. It was cute. But yeah, that's it. I also read Byrd Box by Josh Malerman. I really like this book. We also did watch the movie on Netflix, my husband and I. I gave this 5 stars, of course. So we follow Mallory in this post-apocalyptic world. So in the beginning of the book, she's moving in with her sister, or her and her sister are moving in together. And things are slowly starting to happen where people are just going crazy, basically. It starts off in like foreign countries, and it gradually makes its way into like the United States area and to where they are. So they just keep watching the news of what's happening. Basically, you see this character or being of some sort, and it just like makes you go just crazy and just basically kill yourself. You want to kill yourself. And maybe others. So you don't know what these creatures are. You don't know what they look like. You just know they're out there. So in order for you to not get affected by this, you have to wear a blindfold. So our characters go around blindfolded pretty much the entire book, have to feel their way around everything. But these creatures are not dangerous. They don't really fool with them once they're outside. You just cannot look at them. So it was just really interesting and just fascinating. A fascinating world that Josh Malerman has built. In the book, and as well as in the movie, Mallory is pregnant, so she has to give birth. And so throughout the book, you kind of go back and forth from past Mallory to present Mallory, pretty much until the point where they're in this boat trying to make their way to a better place. And until that point, you go back and forth. So she has her 2 kids with her. They have to be blindfolded. So she's taught them very well over the years how to act, and, you know, never take your blindfold off. It was just very like fascinating. I could not put it down. I just had to keep going, and I couldn't wait to watch the movie adaptation, which was just as good as the book. I do feel that the book is better, though, in a lot more cases, you know, because the show or the movie kind of left out a few things, but you still got the gist of it, you know. There were a few little things that were different in the movie than were in the book. I can't really think anything off the top of my head. I just remember telling my husband that didn't happen in the book. But anyway, it was the same, you know. It wasn't, but it was. It all led to the same place, but really, really good. If you had not got on the Byrd Box bandwagon, definitely hop on. It's a really good ride. Next, we have A Short History of the Girl Next Door by Jarrett Reck. I had a hard time getting through this little book. What did I give it? Did I give it 3 stars? I gave it 3 stars. It was just okay. It was very long to get through, though. It was very long for such a short book. So we follow a young boy or a young man named Matt, who is basically in love with his longtime neighbor and longtime friend, Tabby. They've been neighbors and friends since they were like babies. Tabby's mother left a long time ago. I believe like she had mental issues, and she just kind of left her husband and her baby behind. So her father raised her all these years, and he had the help of Matt's family to help him cope with his wife just up and leaving them, and how to deal with a baby when he had to go make a living. So basically, Matt's mom or Matt's family helped raise Tabby. So they were raised together. They became very close. Matt, over the years, fell in love with Tabby. It was just kind of events that lead up to this tragic accident that happens. And once you get to that part, it got really, really good. And I had so many feelings about that part of the book. So I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to give this 3 stars or maybe possibly 4 stars. Because once I got past poor Matt's rambling about basketball and loving his neighbor and best friend, and just watching her go off with this other guy and not being able to express his feelings toward her, it was just a lot of rambling of that in the beginning. And then this tragic accident happens, and just things like really picked up for me. All I'll say, I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that I did cry. But I ended up giving it a 3 stars just because it took me so long to get to that point. Next up, I have The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This was really cute, really funny. I gave it a 5 stars, I believe. No, I gave it 4 stars. I did listen to this book on Audible. It was read by Cynthia Farrell and Deacon Lee. So you get 2 voices, and I love when that happens. You get both sides of their stories. We follow Olive and Ethan in this book, and their brother and sister are marrying each other. So, so the book starts off at the wedding, and at the reception, the entire wedding reception, except for Olive and Ethan, get food poisoning. They don't get it because they have very distinct tastes on food. Ethan does not like any buffets. He will not touch a buffet at all, no matter where it is. He will not touch it. And Olive is, I don't remember what exactly her food preference was, but she had something totally different than everybody else had. So she didn't get sick, and Ethan didn't get sick. But the entire wedding party and the reception got sick. Her sister and her sister's new husband could not go on their honeymoon, and it was non-refundable. So they went ahead and they sent Olive and Ethan. And so the story just goes on for there. It was funny. It was cute. It was a hate to love trope. They basically hate each other. I didn't think I mentioned that, but they just do not like each other in the beginning. But they grow over their little honeymoon or unhoneymoon that they go on. And of course, other events happen in the book. But yeah, it was funny. It was cute. I had a little, a few sexy times in here, but it was just okay for me. It was very hyped up. So I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I thought it was just going to be a little bit more than what it really was. And it just wasn't that for me. Although I did enjoy it, I guess it just wasn't what I expected it to be. But I still liked it. Next up is The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I loved this book. This is actually the first Ruth Ware book that I can say that I absolutely love. Although I hear good things about The Turn of the Key, which I'll be reading this month in August. But this one was really, really good. So we follow in this book a young girl named Hal. She has lost her mother. And her mother was like a tarot card reader, and that's how they got their income. Since her mother passed, she's been the one to do the tarot card reading, even though she claims not to be that very good at it. So she's living a rough life. She's by herself. She's basically living like a paycheck to paycheck style. She doesn't have much. She's had to borrow money from like a money shark, and is being hassled by this money shark and doesn't know how she's going to get out of it. One day she receives a letter that her grandmother has passed and has left her a little fortune, I guess, in her will. But her grandmother that she knows of has passed away years ago. But it's her name on the letter, it's her address, but she's for sure thinks it's just a mistake somewhere. But she goes anyway just because she's so down on her luck. How much can she lose by going, maybe gaining a little bit of money, and nobody knows any different? So she goes on to meet the family, when she gets there and meets the family, she becomes just attached to that family and realizes that she's not going to be able to do what she thought she was going to be able to do. But then also secrets start floating up to the top. She does discover some things of her past that she had no idea. Apparently, her mother was keeping a secret from her, and she's never met her father. But it was just really good. I enjoyed every minute of it. I did listen to this on Audible. It was read by Imogen Church, and a very good narration. I highly, highly recommend this one by Ruth Ware. Such a good book. Just had like a good creepy aspect to it, because the home that she goes to is just sort of like this huge rundown mansion. So it's got like some creepiness happening in there. There's like this old maid there that took care of the old woman that was living there. She's just like very grumpy and just your typical scary kind of old lady. It was just really fun. It was very fun, very creepy, very thrilling. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I gave it 5 stars. Did I say that? I also read Watching You by Lisa Jewell. Oh my goodness, I loved this book. I loved Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell as well. This one is just as good. I still think Then She Was Gone has to be my favorite. I have a book talk on that, so I'll link that below if you want to check that out. But this one was good, so good as well. I gave it 5 stars, of course. I did listen to this one also on Audible. It was read by Gabrielle Glaister. We actually follow a couple characters in this book. We follow Joey, who is basically our main character. She's a young girl that has just recently moved in. Her and her new husband have recently moved in with her brother and her sister-in-law. In the beginning of this book, a murder does take place, but you don't know anything about it. There is a piece of evidence that is found that you will sort of read about throughout the book. So it kind of gives you little clues, but it still had me guessing. Like, I did not guess this ending. Joey becomes sort of infatuated with one of the neighbors. I believe his name is Tom. He's an older man. He teaches at the school. He's married with a son. His son, Freddie, also does a little watching on his own through his window with his camera. Just watching everything, watching all the neighbors, like the young girls. He knows like what time they leave their homes, what time they'll be coming back. He watches Joey. He watches his dad. He watches his mom. He watches Joey's husband. He's a real fun character. I really liked him. But anyway, Joey becomes infatuated with Tom, which is Freddie's dad. They sort of end up having a little bit of a too nice of a friendship. I'll just leave it at that. Joey, of course, is the #1 suspect. We do go back and forth through this book for the interrogation of Joey, as well as just like her story. And we also get Tom's interrogation and a little bit of like his story and his background. And then of course we get Freddie's story. So everybody's just watching everybody. This murder happens and pretty much everyone is a suspect, but for some reason, a reason I won't say, Joey is the #1 suspect. It was really fun to read. I enjoyed it. I did not see the ending coming at all. Totally shocked me. Loved every minute of it. I also got to read Lock Every Door by Riley Seiger. This was my book of the month pick for July, and so I'm really excited that I got to it. This was very much anticipated, so I couldn't wait to actually read it. This was actually going to be for the Reading Rush readathon, but for purple on the cover, but I didn't get to it I didn't finish it for the readathon. But I did finish it in the month of July. Oh my gosh, this was such a good book. 5 stars all the way. So we follow Jules. She is a young girl down on her luck. She reads an ad in a paper for the Bartholomew to go to apartment sit for the Bartholomew, which is apparently a very high-class apartment building. She's offered an extreme amount of money to just apartment sit, which right there then in itself is very fishy. But just after like a matter of a couple days, things start to happen in the Bartholomew, and she befriends one of the other apartment sitters, and she ends up going missing. She also discovers the apartment sitter before her goes missing as well. So of course she starts to dive into what's happening here at the Bartholomew. Such a good read. Once again, I was not expecting the ending. The ending was, and then it just didn't end. It kind of went on from there, but it was not anything else. I've never read something like, I've never read an ending like this. I don't know how to explain it. It was just so good. But she befriends some people in this hotel, or I keep calling it a hotel, but this apartment building, and they end up not being what she expects they are. So I'll just leave it at that. Like I said, I couldn't get over the ending. There wasn't just like one person who was at fault here. The book kind of starts off with her running out of the Bartholomew and getting hit by a car, I believe. And she's taken to what she thinks is a hospital. So we kind of go back and forth from that point, and then we get her story of how she came about the Bartholomew, and then her story, and then, you know, it just goes back and forth of her trying to remember what happened, and then mind blown, total mind blown. Read it. I also read an ebook this last month. I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. 5 stars for that one as well. That one was such a good book, and a lot of people don't like it, but I loved it. It was about a young, thriving, a young author who's not doing so well as far as like writing her books. She's not doing very well in the book game. She is offered an opportunity to finish a very well-known author's series because this author becomes ill and she's not able to finish the series. So this author's husband actually approaches, I forget her name. I don't have the book. I read the ebook, so I'll put a picture of it right here. But I read it very early in the month, so I don't remember our main character's name. I know I need to write these things down. I never take notes. I just read. I don't do, like, I don't mark in my books. I don't tag anything in my books. I just read. And what I'm giving you here is just basically from my memory, which probably sucks, but it's fun. But anyway, yes, so the husband of the sick author approaches her with this offer of finishing her book. So she goes actually to live with them in their home to get all her notes, you know, the other author's notes and everything on these books, and just kind of get a feel of what she has been writing and the way she writes, and just getting a feel of her characters and things like that. While she's finding this, looking for this, you know, while she's going through all this information, she comes across a biography that the author has written on her own by herself, never published. It's just typed up. She just comes upon it, and she discovers some very disturbing things about this person. So while she's staying there, she doesn't know what's real and not real. She starts to see things, so she doesn't know how to take them. She doesn't know if, like, just reading the biography, she's thinking this woman is very, very dangerous. So when she sees these things happening, she doesn't really know how to take it. Of course, the husband doesn't seem to think anything's off or odd or anything at all, and they actually begin to form a relationship. So there's also a little bit of romance. There's a little bit of thriller happening. It was really, really, really good. I enjoyed it. I've heard sort of 50-50. I've heard a lot of people did not like it, but I really enjoyed reading it. I definitely want to get the actual book just to have it for my collection, because I may want to reread it. It was really good. And last but not least, I read Everything by Nicola Yoon. This was such a cute little book. I gave it 4 stars. I mean, it wasn't anything, you know, mind-blowing again, but it was really, really cute. It had some cute little illustrations along the way. The naked book is just all blue, and the writing is silver in there. But it was just really, really cute. She's has all sorts of little, just like little, can you see that? There we go. Like little illustrations like that. She like has little, I don't know what you call them, little grams or something. Like she makes all sorts of these little charts and stuff. So it's about a young girl who has this disease. She's basically allergic to everything. So her mother keeps her in like this very sanitized room in the house, and anyone that comes visit has to go through this sanitation or anything like that. So she's homeschooled and, you know, all that. She has like a full-time like nurse that stays with her. Make sure she's doing okay, checks her vitals, make sure she's eating the right things. Her mother is a doctor. One day, a new neighbor moves in across the street, so and they sort of become friends. So they start to instant message each other online and get to know each other. They actually do like have little visits that her mother doesn't know about. It was just really, really cute. A very cute little young adult little love story. Like I said, nothing over the top or, you know, mind-blowing, but just a cute little story. I love the book. I think the book is so pretty. So just a cute, fun little read. I really enjoyed it. So that is all I have for you. That's all I read in the month of July. It was such a good month. Thank y'all so much for watching and stick around. I know this was probably a very long video. I need to try to do better with describing my books. I just could go on and talk about them. But anyway, I will have listed everything down that I read down below, as well as all my social media. So come follow me, especially on Instagram and Goodreads. I try to keep up with everything that I'm reading, and I try to do all my reviews on Goodreads. So come follow me, let's be friends, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. Click the like button if you like what you see. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.